In this WrestleTalk news, more big Triple H changes in WWE as he seemingly kills NXT 2.0. There are creative problems with Roman Reigns dropping the Universal Championship, more details on those AEW suspensions, and more. Subscribe and enable notifications to always on for daily wrestling news videos.
Support WrestleTalk!
Last night, NXT celebrated 1 year since the big 2.0 rebrand that came down from a Vince McMahon edict to put less emphasis on indie talent and instead focus on younger, homegrown talent that could one day headline WrestleMania. Because for some reason, Vince didn't think that indie talent with their years of experience and popularity could main event WrestleMania. The change came off the back of NXT losing to AEW in the Wednesday Night Wars, where WWE moved their developmental brand from the WWE Network to Network TV directly against AEW Dynamite. And it did not work out well for WWE, who lost every single week and ended up tucking their tails between their legs and moving to Tuesday nights instead. Triple H has since played down the Wednesday Night Wars in an interview with Ariel Helwani, saying that AEW only beat our developmental system, despite during the war claiming that NXT wasn't developmental at all and was actually the third brand of WWE. It's almost as if he's rewriting history, but Triple H would never do anything like that. Once the war was lost, Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard visited the Performance Center, and it was then reported by Mike Johnson of PW Insider as well as Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer that NXT was set to undergo a major shift in terms of presentation, and thus NXT 2.0 was born. Gone was the black and gold brand and replaced with a rainbow explosion of color, new names for many of its wrestlers, and a focus on WWE's own prospects rather than outside talent. This also came with the edict that female wrestlers should be much sexier and younger to appeal to that 1849 demographic that they lost during the Wednesday Night War. Fun fact, the median age of an NXT viewer at one point was 62. Lady Frost revealed in an interview with Fightful Select that at just 38, she was deemed too old to be part of NXT 2.0. Many wrestlers from the black and gold era of NXT were released, and Vince & Co. made a statement when they had their hand-picked 2.0 guy Bron Breakker make his entrance to win the NXT Championship by kicking through the old NXT logo, and had Team 2.0 beat Team Black and Gold in a War Games match last December. But things have changed in WWE in the last 12 months, quite dramatically so. Vince McMahon is no longer running the creative side of things, and his son-in-law Triple H has taken over. It led many fans to wonder, given how much Trips has changed Raw and SmackDown, whether he turned his attention to 2.0, which was a direct replacement of his Pride and Joy NXT product, which Vince had deemed a failure. And going by last night's episode of NXT, I think he might have done. The show ended with a video package narrated by Shawn Michaels, which was thrown to by the commentary team as one last message for the evening celebrations. In the video, Michaels talks about how NXT is always evolving and ended with the 2.0 logo being replaced with a new logo, which is the same font, but decked out in gold, suggesting that 2.0 is dead and the black and gold era is back. Triple H himself retweeted WWE's posting of the video on Twitter, captioning it with the catchphrase he used to open NXT takeovers during the black and gold era: "We are NXT." And it wasn't just this new logo that made a statement of change, as last night saw a main roster star win NXT Gold. Thank you for your support on Patreon, the cleaner Kenny Shah and the British Bulldog Philip Boyd J. Smith Jr. Get your own Patreon shoutouts on the WrestleTalk news by going to patreon.com/WrestleTalk. Solo Sikoa made his shocking main roster debut at WWE's Clash at the Castle a couple of weeks ago, where he helped his cousin Roman Reigns retain the undisputed Universal Championship against Drew McIntyre. And this past Friday on SmackDown, he made his main roster in-ring debut as part of the Bloodline faction. However, he made a shock return to NXT last night, replacing Wes Lee in the main event against Carmelo Hayes for the North American Championship, which he then won. It's the biggest example we've had thus far of Triple H's plans to make NXT a defined third brand within WWE rather than just a developmental system. Sure, we've seen crossovers in the past, like when Dolph Ziggler won the NXT Championship earlier this year, but that was Dolph moving to the NXT brand to help develop Bron Breakker. Since Trips has taken over creative, we've seen NXT's Toxic Attraction appear twice on SmackDown. One of those times was to replace other NXT stars Nikita Lyons and Zoe Stark. And it's been reported by Ringside News that Toxic Attraction are not main roster call-ups and are still listed as NXT talent. These were just one-off appearances. We could possibly see more of those in the future. This past Monday's Raw also saw the commentary team hype up the tag match between the Creed brothers and Pretty Deadly for last night's NXT 2.0, something which is rarely done on Raw and SmackDown outside of USA Network airing trailers to hype their own TV schedule. It also now means that outside of Sami Zayn, every member of the Bloodline faction has gold around their waist. But a new report suggests that is becoming somewhat of a problem. Many fans, myself included, thought that Drew McIntyre would win the undisputed Universal Championship at Clash of the Castle, but as mentioned earlier, the Tribal Chief walked away with the gold once again. It was reported earlier this week by WrestlingNews.co that this was a sight we're just gonna have to get used to, as the current plan is to have Roman Reigns keep hold of the undisputed Universal Championship until WrestleMania next year, where he will have that match with The Rock that has been on the books for several years. According to WrestlingNews.co, this was a Vince McMahon idea that Triple H is moving forward with. The original plan was for Roman to retain the title over The Rock and become the top babyface in the company, but there's no word on if that is still the current plan. However, a new report from Wrestle Votes on Twitter claims that WWE now find themselves between a hard place and The Rock. They posted the situation with the world titles and Roman Reigns is complex according to a source. They would like to go into Mania season and WrestleMania itself with two champions, but they also don't want Reigns losing at all prior. I'm told Triple H and co are open to all things creatively here. So yeah, WWE want Roman to drop one or presumably both of his titles, but also not lose. It's almost as if putting both belts on him at Mania with no plan in place was stupid. It's the first real creative struggle Triple H has found himself in since taking over the process from Vince. He has a vision he wants to accomplish, but has been handed this albatross that Roman has both belts that have essentially become one title. While Roman does carry both belts to the ring when he does show up for work, they are referred to as one title, the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. And now it looks like Triple H wants to have separate champions for Mania, but also not have Roman lose. So how would you get one or both of the belts off Roman Reigns if you were part of the creative process? And let me know in the comments. Moving over to the world of AEW now, and it's fair to say that one story within the company has dominated things since All Out: the backstage brawl between CM Punk and Ace Steel against the Elite of Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. In the aftermath of all of this, Punk was stripped of his AEW World Championship and the Elite was stripped of their Trios Championships. It was reported that all four men were suspended along with Ace Steel and anyone else involved in breaking up the fight, which included Michael Nakazawa, Christopher Daniels, Brandon Cutler, and Pat Buck, though nothing official was ever announced. Brian Last of Wrestling News was the man who reported that Punk and Steel were suspended, but a new report from Fightful notes that we haven't specifically gained word that suspensions are in order for Punk and Steel. He adds their futures with AEW are uncertain. What is also uncertain is the length of the suspensions for the Elite, Daniels, Cutler, Nakazawa, and Pat Buck. Sean Ross Sapp writes in his Fightful Select report that no one knows how long they're suspended for. SRS reports Fightful Select learned on Tuesday that as of now, the numerous talents and coaches who were suspended don't necessarily know how long their suspensions are going to last. This will likely remain the case as well, at least until the internal investigation over what happened has been completed and any possible legal issues have been figured out. And AEW are clearly planning for this to take some time, as a Reddit user noted that the advertising for Full Gear in November has now changed, with CM Punk and the Elite being removed and replaced with Tony Storm and MJF. Interestingly, Malachi Black is still on the poster, despite reports that he was granted a conditional release from the company. Many fans also noted that while Punk and the Elite were nowhere to be seen, Black was still in the opening credits for Rampage, which might add credence to the report from Fightful Select that things between him and AEW had smoothed out following him asking for his release last month. Perhaps they'll be back in time for January 4th next year, which will be the date for the one-night event Wrestle Kingdom. Yes, you heard that right, it's back to being one night again. Thank God! Following on from Forbidden Door and their new partnership, it was expected that AEW stars would appear at New Japan's biggest event of the year. But there's one small problem. January 4th, 2023 is a Wednesday, and it's Wednesday, you know what that means. Dynamite airs live on TBS. Speaking about this on Wrestling Observer Radio, Tony Khan called it a challenge, as losing big stars for Wrestle Kingdom would hurt Dynamite and would have a knock-on effect for Rampage. He added, "I'm not thrilled about it, but I'm gonna do my best to support them because they are our partner. But I also can't send everyone over there. If it was the weekend, I'd send the house because that's the kind of partners we are." It's a really great relationship because we already have gotten to talk about that, but we have to do Dynamite, and a good chance that maybe Rampage will be taped that day.
The lower card people are actually going to be quite important to round out the roster later. So you want to be making sure that you're getting value for your money, which is why I'm going to draft Tucker first.
It's a smart move.
Yeah.
It's a smart move.
Tucker's back on SmackDown. No, you took no. Why would you take Slapjack? That was going to be my next pick.